Made a right angle triangle there. Make a right angle triangle there. What could I write? A cos from the 45 is the sine. So no be talking about it, just that's F1 sine theta. Cross from the 30 is the sine, because sine is opposite on the hypotenuse. And at that point, my diagram probably gets too cluttered. So I'm going to talk about horizontal. I could talk about the eyes. So horizontal forces to be in equilibrium. That force that way has to equal that force that way. How much effect does the down force have? Nothing. No effect horizontally. So then you can fill around with that, do all sorts of stuff. You remember what sine 45 is? I always talk about the 45s. They're the one on root 2. So you can go back to your triangle. You can go 45 degrees means it's an isosceles triangle, which means if that's 1 and that's 1, and by Pythagoras that's root 2. One of the nice things about having it written as root 2 on 2 is you rationalise the denominator. So if I wrote that, then the choice is, do I write it as root 2 on 2 or do I write it as 1 on root 2? Root 2 on 2. Sine 30 is? No. Hopefully you know that one off by heart. Nice part there, just like you were saying a moment ago, mate, that nice and easy, we can times by 2. So, what's my Prestwidge rule? Get rid of fractions first. So I times that side by 2, I times that side by 2, 2's cancel, and we've got root 2 F1 equals F2. This is not bad. So wherever I see F2 in a moment, I can replace it by root 2 F1, which is back to simultaneous equation and substitute. No vertical. Okay, come on, talk to me for a sec. If that one's F1 sine 45, what's this one here? I'm just going to draw that bit there. 45 degrees, even that's a bit rough. That's F1. That's the adjacent. So the cos of 45 is adjacent over the hypotenuse. Root 2 on 2. So the adjacent is, if I times that by F1, I times that by F1. So the adjacent is F1 cos 45. So if I wanted to write it there, let's make the different colours say, the length from there to there is F1 cos 45. So all I'm looking for is the one next to it is cos, and the one across from it is, or opposite is, sine. So on this one here, I can write F2 cos of 30. So everything's going up, which is F1 cos 45 plus F2 cos 30 has to equal everything going down. How much is going down? 200. Yeah. Now there'll be people out there who write this as that plus that minus that equals 0, if you prefer to write it that way. So again, Alex, so when we write that as a root 2 on 2 instead of 1 on root 2, cos 30 is? Do you know it off by heart, or do you have to stop?
Isn't it 1 over root 3?
That's 10.
It's root 3 over 2, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you're ever stuck, you just go back to your triangle. Now a lot of people draw it as an equilateral triangle. They split it down the middle and they make that 60, make that 30 and 30 and make that 60, yeah. I tend to go, so what did you do last year? That way or that way? Or did you just memorise them?
Left.
Left? So I just go 30, sine 30 is 1 and 2. So my Pythagoras, put a square around it, 2 by 2 is 4, 1 by 1 is 1. This one down here before, take the 1.
Oh, wait, actually.
You okay? What was that?
I think we might have done the one on the right as well.
Okay. Either way, I interchange between the two. Doesn't really, I know them off by heart anyway.
Is it root 3 on 2 or is it just root 3?
So adjacent on the hypotenuse.
Oh, I see.
Okay now. And I'd go times 2. Before I thought about anything else, I I just want to brainwash you, we get rid of fractions first. If you could get into my head and see how many students I see don't do that, who mess it up. It's pretty scary. So that can cross out with that, so we've got root 2 of f1 plus, what have we got here? That 2 cross out with that 2, so that's root 3 of f2. And we get 400. Bit revolting. What are we back to now? Sub. What are we going to sub? I'm going to sub that f2 gets replaced by root 2 f1. So this one stays the same. But that one gets replaced by root 2 f1. Make sure I don't make any mistakes, guys, please. So far now I've got a root 2 of f1 plus a root 6 of f1. And what comes to the rescue?
Wouldn't we go root 2 is a common factor and f1 is a common factor?
No, just the f1.
Huh?
I only want, it's logical to make that we could think about that and do that, but we don't actually need it out there, we only need the f1 out there. I love it, Jake, that's a great suggestion, mate. So that's a root 2 plus a root 6. So what have we got? f1 is 400 on root 2 plus root 6, and you need to simplify it. Old school, I want to rationalise the denominator again, but that's not actually in the course at that level. So there it is as an exact answer. And the moment you put in your calculator, you're getting approximate answer.
Ew.
103.53.
And the nice part is we do it as a decimal. When we get f2, it's easier. Because otherwise, for f2, we have to go to that root 2, but it's not too bad. And look how nice this is. Just made up a question in my head, okay? So root 2 times what f1.